as I was saying the prayer, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, I was realizing that this week we studied the prayers of Krishna's father, Vasudeva. And he's the son of Vasudeva, therefore he's known as Vasudeva. We also studied the prayers of the demigods this week. One of the unique aspects of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions to humanity, as evidenced by his followers' books, especially the six Goswamis, is entering into the deep relationship between the Lord and his devotees and understanding the rasa. Rasa is sometimes compared to the liquid in like a tree. It moves through it, but it's inherent throughout all parts of it. So the activities and the relationship between the Lord and his devotees becomes all pervasive like that. And it's interesting, especially in these pastimes that we're reading now, about how the different devotees, the Lord hasn't even appeared yet. Of course, he will in today's pastimes, but the prayers of the demigods, comparing them to the Lord when he was in the womb of Devaki, to the prayers of Vasudeva, and then the prayers of Devaki. It's interesting to see how each devotee has different sentiments, emotions, and relationships with the Lord. And of course, all these things are supposed to awaken each one of our individual relationships with the Lord, which lies dormant in our hearts, covered over by our false ego and false identification with this body and who we think we are in this material world. One of the things I appreciated, Premananda, was your entering into that element of rasa and seeing how the demigods started off praying for their own benefit and for their own protection. And the Lord, now you've come to release this burden. But by the end of it, they were praying, the Devaki, don't worry, he's so powerful that you don't have to worry about Kamsa. And you pointed out how their sentiments, by offering prayers to the Lord, had actually become more elevated. And instead of thinking just for themselves, they were thinking of her. So that was beautiful. I like that. Thank you for that. So now let's go to the texts. This week is the prayers of the demigods and the prayers of Vasudeva. It's November 2023, texts 4 and 5. And I'll start, not texts, lessons 4 and 5, with text 10th chapter, 2nd canto, which is prayers of the demigods. Text 37. The demigods continued praying to the Lord in the womb of Devaki. Even while engaged in various activities, devotees whose minds are completely absorbed at your lotus feet and who constantly hear, chant, contemplate, and cause others to remember your transcendental names and forms are always on the transcendental platform, and thus they can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. How Bhakti Yoga can be practiced is explained in this verse. Anyone who has dedicated his life to the service of the Lord by his activities, his mind, and his words may stay in any condition of life, and yet is no longer actually conditioned, but is liberated. Even though such a devotee is in the material body, he has nothing to do with this body, for he is transcendentally situated. Bhagavad Gita 9:14 therefore recommends that one always engage at least in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, the great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. Anybody have any realizations or comments on this?
This is a clue of what to do. This
Yes.
is very
How
encouraging.
Bhakti Yoga can be practiced is explained in this verse. Not just a clue, it's actually a formula, right?
Chanting is number one. therefore recommends one should always engage in at least chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Okay, shall we go on?
Yes, certainly.
First, of course, before we go on, we want to embrace Tisha with all of our love and pray that Krishna will embrace her and that that Wade's journey back to Godhead will be blessed. And actually, I just have to say that this is a wonderful thing to take shelter of, Tisha, that you decided to hear the Bhagavatam and associate with devotees during this most trying and intense time. So let's give Tisha a Hare Krishna mantra all together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And a cyber hug. A cyber hug for Tisha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Tisha, would you like to begin reading? Think it. What do you? Good.
Yeah, I'm going to try to
Okay.
read.
Do the best you can, and it doesn't matter what happens. Don't worry.
Okay. O Lord, we are fortunate because the heavy burden of the demons upon this earth is immediately removed by your appearance. Indeed, we are certainly fortunate, for we shall be able to see upon this earth and in the heavenly planets the marks of lotus, conch shell, club, and disc that adorn your lotus feet. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The soles of the Lord's lotus feet are marked with conch shell, disc, club, and lotus, and also by a flag and a thunderbolt. When Krishna walks on this earth or in the heavenly planets, these marks are visible wherever he goes. Vrindavan Dham is a transcendental place because of Krishna's walking on this land frequently. The inhabitants of Vrindavan were fortunate to see these marks here and there. When Akrura went to Vrindavan to take Krishna and Balaram away to the festival arranged by Kamsa, upon seeing the marks of the Lord's lotus feet on the ground of Vrindavan, he fell down and began to groan. These marks are visible to devotees who receive the causeless mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tavanu Kampitam. The demigods were jubilant not only because the appearance of the Supreme Lord would do away with the burdensome demons, but also because they would be able to see upon the ground the transcendental marks from the soles of the Lord's lotus feet.
Wow. Wouldn't that be a nice vision? How can we get that vision? Just asking. How can we get that vision now? What do you think, Tisha? How can we get that vision now? What is non-different than Krishna?
The mantra, his
The
name,
mantra.
his form.
Right. His name, form, qualities, and pastimes. And in this age, we take shelter of the holy name of the Lord, who is non-different than Krishna, and we can actually see his lotus feet through hearing.
We actually read last week in the prayers by the demigods also that not only is it kind of like symbolic, but because the name, form, qualities, and activities of the Lord are non-different from him, we should try to develop in part of our practice and meditations while chanting, actually thinking of those different emblems on the bottom of the feet. That's very highly recommended, that one actually contemplate those symbols and their meanings.
Also, you can meditate on just on the tops of his feet too, his feet, and appreciate the beauty and the shelter of the Lord's lotus feet.
Is there a place where the meanings of, is it in this little book?
Yeah, that's it, you guys. Okay. Anything else? Mamatar, you have something to say?
That book that Tisha was holding up is because we had a class about this briefly before, and I think it was mentioned that the flower or the lotus was not on Krishna's feet in one of those books, and I wasn't sure. Well, when meditating on the different emblems, and so the reason why I was curious is because, like, Krishna does things, and he can give something from himself and still be 100% whole. So I was thinking, did he give that flower, if it's not on his foot, to the gopis? And if he did that, maybe that's why, like, women can't resist the gift of flowers. There's something about flowers with women. We can't resist the gift of flowers. And so I was just curious when I read this verse. But is the flower on Krishna's feet in that book that Tisha was holding up?
Let's see. My husband meditates on these symbols whenever he chants. Oh, there's Tisha with the lotus flower.
Okay.
There
It's there. So it's there. It's on his, what is that? That's his left foot, right?
Yeah.
Right foot? Is
Let's
that
see.
Krishna's right foot?
Actually, his right foot. It looks like it's his left from our side, but if he's standing,
Yeah.
then it's his right foot.
Okay.
Okay.
And why does a woman can't resist flowers after she becomes a devotee? Why?
I don't know. I think it's because Krishna gives the flower to his feminine part, to his feminine part. I don't know.
He gives flowers to everyone, but why, when a devotee receives flowers, what's the first thing a devotee is going to do when they receive a flower?
Offer it to Krishna.
Okay, that's fine. That's the reason. That's the reason why we can't resist flowers. Otherwise, oh, this person loves me so much, he gave me a flower. You know, of course, Krishna loves you so much, and he will give you a flower, but your natural inclination is to give it back to him. And that's the mood of a devotee. Is that all right, Mandatara? Okay. Okay.
I also remember after the it's a kind of a rare thing. I don't know if we really expanded on it too much. At the end of the first canto, when it describes the disappearance of the Lord, remember the Yadus had the big fight, and then there were some prayers by Mother Earth, because remember, Bhumi was the one who came to Lord Brahma and made the prayer that so much disturbance was going on, and then the Lord advented. And of all the places, no matter where he traveled, the Earth planet never really felt separation from him, because he was always standing on her. All the residents of Vrindavan were feeling separation when Krishna left, but he walked on the earth when he went, so she still had that association. And there's some beautiful prayers where she expresses how pleasing it was to have the Lord touching her and walking on her all that time, and how she was feeling separation after he had left, because now, no matter where on her body she tried to experience him, he was no longer present.
In one way.
In that way.
In that way. Okay, let's go on now with Mandatara. Would you like to read?
Text 39. O Supreme Lord, you are not an ordinary living entity appearing in this material world as a result of fruitive activities. Therefore, your appearance or birth in this world has no other cause than your pleasure potency. Similarly, the living entities who are part of you have no cause for miseries like birth, death, and old age, except when these living entities are conducted by your external energy. Purport. The living entities come to this material world in the spirit of enjoyment, but because they want to enjoy without Krishna, they suffer birth, death, old age, and disease under the control of the illusory energy. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears, however, no such causes are involved. His descent is an act of his pleasure potency. We should always remember this distinction between the Lord and the ordinary living entity, and not uselessly argue that the Lord cannot come.
Go on.
When the living entities come to this world for material enjoyment, they are entangled in karma and karma pala by the Lord's illusory energy. But if one seeks shelter at the Lord's lotus feet, one is again situated in his original liberated state. As stated here, one who seeks shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord is always fearless. Because we are dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we should give up the idea that without Krishna, we can enjoy freedom in this material world. This idea is the reason we have become entangled. Now it is our duty to seek shelter again at the Lord's lotus feet. This shelter is described as abhaya or fearless. Since Krishna is not subject to birth, death, old age, or disease, and since we are part and parcel of Krishna, we also are not subject to birth, death, old age, and disease. But we have become subject to these illusory problems because of our forgetfulness of Krishna and our position as his eternal servants. Jivara Surupa Haya Krishnarya Anitya Dasa. Therefore, if we practice devotional service by always thinking of the Lord, always glorifying him, and always chanting about him, as described in text 37, we will be reinstated in our original constitutional position and thus be saved. The demigods, therefore, encouraged Devaki not to fear Kamsa, but to think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was already within her womb.
Very nice. So one who seeks shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord is fearless. This whole purport, Manvantari, can you say something about how these are instructions how we have to be with Krishna and how we become fearless in the world. Can you say something about this, Manvantari?
I have more questions than saying about that. I mean,
okay.
It's like when you become fearful, or is automatically the consciousness, the eyes of the consciousness becomes closed. Like, I mean, just from experience or having, seen it, the consciousness become closed off. And then when you are conscious of Krishna, it's no longer instinctual. Like you don't no longer follow instincts. You just kind of you open your eyes, and then you can see. You no longer have fear. But it's a fleeting thing when you're conditioned.
Okay, so what's the basic cause of fear? What is the basic? And tell me that one. What's the basic?
Attachment. Attachment is something. Yeah.
It could, okay, even more basic.
Okay.
What anyone can say? Why are we afraid? Anyone?
We think we're going to die.
Which means we think we're this body, which is subject to these things that, as it says in the birth, death, old age, and disease. And then we become fearful. And the best way not to be fearful is to serve Krishna. Take shelter of Krishna. And unless someone knows a better authority than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that sounds like a pretty good deal. Take shelter of the Supreme, the head man, the head boss. Okay, anything else on this verse and purport? Okay, let's go on. Premanandaji, would you like to read?
Yes, Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:240. O Supreme Controller, your Lordship previously accepted incarnations as a fish, a horse, a tortoise, Nrsingadev, a boar, a swan, Lord Ramachandra, Parshuram, and among the demigods, Vamanadev, to protect the entire world by your mercy. Now please protect us again by your mercy by diminishing the disturbances in this world. O Krishna, best of the Yadus, we respectfully offer our obeisances unto you. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In every incarnation, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has a particular mission to execute. And this was true in his appearance as the son of Devaki, in the family of the Yadus. Thus all the demigods offer their prayers to the Lord, bowing down before him and request the Lord to do the needful. We cannot order the Supreme Personality of Godhead to do anything for us. We can simply offer him our obeisances as advised in Bhagavad Gita, Man Manabhava Mad Bhakto Mat Yaji Mam Namaskuru, and pray to him for annihilation of dangers.
Okay, just briefly tell me, what does this mean, really? What is the point of this? What is being stressed here?
That the Lord anyway appears in this world to protect us, and he will protect us even if we don't pray for it, because he says, right, we cannot ask the Lord for anything. He will do. He said we cannot order the Supreme Lord to do anything for us. He will anyway give us protection, provided we surrender unto him. We said Mana Mana Bhava, we always think of him, chant his holy name, and remember him, and the Lord will give us protection. So that's giving protection is one of the limbs of surrender, 6 limbs of surrender, right, in Sharanagati. So that's
Right.
what I get out of this verse.
But there's another thing. Krishna doesn't only protect his devotees. He doesn't. He is equal to everyone. He protects everyone, but those who are a friend to him, says in Bhagavad Gita, I'm a friend to them. So and another question I have is, why is it so important that Krishna protects us in this world of illusion? If it's an illusion, why do we need protection here? How do you answer that one?
If it doesn't protect, we get into more illusion. We get entangled in this illusory ocean of birth and death that we can never get out. So he protects us from this darkness of ignorance that we are in, so that we can come out of it and then finally go back home, back to Godhead.
You're quick today, Brahmana.
So this is a timely reminder to us that, okay, there is something better out there.
Yeah, this is an illusion, and we take it so, just like if you watch a movie, you go into the movie theater. Of course, nobody goes into the movie theaters anymore, I don't think. Anyway, you get absorbed in this fantastic illusory thing of Avatar or whatever, and you walk out, and what happens? It's no longer existing. We get so into this, we give our hearts to it, we become enthralled, we become depressed. So this is a dangerous situation for the eternally liberated soul, right?
On the other hand, the question may be raised, if that's the truth, that's almost what is it? Brahma Satyam Mithya, the material world is false. What is it, Premananda?
Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya.
Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. So
Right.
Seeing this material world is simply a place of falsity, one would question, why is Krishna even coming?
Anyone?
No, you.
Me? You? Premananda.
To liberate us. Because we are in
So
this
what is he actually protecting? The verse says it itself. Paritanaya sarunam vinishaya chaduskritam.
Dharma samstapanarthaya.
Exactly.
To protect religious principles.
Right. That's who he's protecting, right? The sadhus are people who are following his instructions, and the duskritis are those who are not following. Right. So the demigods in this circumstance, they're not only praying for themselves because they're fearful. They're praying, their duty, part of universal management, is to increase and uphold and maintain dharma, correct action according to the laws of God. So that's what he's protecting. And there's reality, there's truth in as substance in that activity. It's not false. We'll read about that again, I think, coming up. It's not false. It's not all just, you people are all an illusion. You think you're your bodies and just do what you want. No, there's a whole process for becoming freed from that illusion. And that's what he protects, the process and those who are following it.
And also we've heard so many times that it's temporary. we can't say that it's false.
Right.
It's temporary, and therefore it's not worthy of an eternal living being's identification with it. We are eternal. Anything temporary, even if we have a relationship with someone on the material platform, unless that becomes a spiritual relationship based on the soul, then that's the way it becomes eternal. We were discussing this the other day, Tisha, remember? That a relationship will last eternally if we're engaged in eternal activities, you see. And it might not appear the way it appears in this world, because everything in this world is temporary. But there's no mistakes. Krishna puts us where he wants us exactly at the right moment to learn whatever it is we're supposed to, so that we can achieve the goal of life. Okay, let's go on now with Ian from Jamaica, right? Ian, you're from Jamaica.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. 10.2.41 to 42. O Mother Devaki, by your good fortune and ours, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, with all his plenary portions, such as Baladev, is now within your womb. Therefore, you need not fear Kamsa, who has decided to be killed by the Lord. Your eternal son, Krishna, will be the protector of the entire Yadu dynasty. After thus offering prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, the Transcendence, or the demigods with Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva before them, return to their homes in the heavenly planets. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Demigods assure Devaki, the Son is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his appearing with Baladev is plenary portion. He will give you all protection and kill Kamsa, who has decided to continue his enmity toward the Lord and thus be killed by him. Purport continued?
Yes.
Since it was said at first that Kamsa was present within Krishna rather, was present with the heart of Vasudeva and was thus transferred to the heart of Devaki, Sri Jiva Goswami writes, how is it that Krishna was now in the womb? He replies that there is no contradiction. There is no contradiction. From the heart of the Lord, the Lord can go to the womb, or from the womb, he can go to the heart. Indeed, he can go or stay anywhere. As confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Dantara Star Paramanu Stam Govindam Chayantara Stam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Vajame. The Lord can stay wherever he likes. Devaki, therefore, in accordance with the desire of her former life, now had the opportunity to seek the benediction of having the Supreme Personality of Godhead as her son, Devaki Nandana. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 10th canto, 2nd chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Prayers by Demigods for Lord Krishna in the Womb.
So why would the demigods pray to Lord Krishna? This is very instructive.
Yes, I wondered myself, but a prayer is one of the, the process of devotional service.
Right.
And, who is to pray to but the Supreme Lord? Yes,
So prayer is not always asking for something.
No. Well, one could ask for in the devotional service, or ask to be more, maybe conscious or focused in one's devotion. Right. So, rather than say, could you give me a car or a house, but could you allow me to be more, humble, more tolerant, or those things. So, they're different. Depends on the mood of the prayer.
Right.
Yes. It could be like Akura was like in the 9 processes of devotional service. Akura is mentioned as that person Is that Kavandanam? Is that the Sanskrit
Right,
word?
yes. Why is that?
Right. Because the number of things that Akura was saying, glorifying the Lord. So
Glorifying the Lord. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for. Because that's what prayer is. Prayer is glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yes. So also, even if you're asking for something, it's a good gesture to glorify the Lord first. Okay, Lord, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are the cause of our causes, and you know that we depend on you. So, my situation. So if you so desire, so there's glorification, there's asking, and there, leaving everything up to the Lord. So it's a kind of process.
It is. I just heard Prabhupada say, is everybody hearing me twice?
Don't worry about it, Sama. It's Ian's microphone connection.
Okay, Ian, my friend, could you just put it on mute for a moment? Oh, good, thank you. So I heard Prabhupada say this morning that a devotee never asks Krishna for anything. He just glorifies him. And why is that? Because Krishna, he knows your heart. He knows what you want. Of course, we, as my dear Lord Krishna, we used to pray, please cure Srila Prabhupada. That was what Prabhupada told us to pray. But basically, if you come with a pure heart, Krishna knows. We don't have to tell him. Incidentally, in case you didn't notice, we don't have to say that to Krishna. He knows. So if we practice doing that, in a sincere heart, offering our obeisances, he sees our humility, or what we're trying to be humble, and he sees and he understands. And to practice not asking him, not that you don't go to him for everything, but glorifying him. I'm going to practice that because I'm always asking for everything. Just glorifying him and have enough faith to see that he's reading us. He knows what we need. Can you unmute, Pati?
Another point that's interesting here, as Ian was reading it, it just came to mind that these demigods, perhaps understanding what's going to happen to Devaki for the next several years, are encouraging her, because we also know, for those who read kind of like between the lines, we didn't point it out too much, but when Vasudeva was born, there was an ethereal voice which declared that he would be the father of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So his whole life, Vasudeva knew what was going to come. Similarly here, he must have shared that with Devaki. And here the demigods are expressing to her that he'll give you protection. You don't have to worry about Kamsa. But yet she'll become so traumatized by the experience of the next 6 years, 7 years, that when the Supreme Lord finally did appear, she was very frightened for him, thinking that Kamsa was going to come and kill him. We're coming up to some really interesting, as we spoke in the beginning, rasa features. So let's continue until we get to those, and then we can talk further about them.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Okay, let's see. Madhurya Leela, are you able to read? She was just listening. Okay, I'll tell her to let me know. Chaitamayi, would you like to read this next one?
I can do that.
Oh, Madhurya can be, and then you next, Chaita. Okay, sweetie? All right, just this one slide. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, the birth of Lord Krishna.
Go on.
Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:3, 1-5. Thereafter, at the auspicious time for the appearance of the Lord, the entire universe was surcharged with all the qualities of goodness, beauty, and peace. The constellation Rohini appeared, as did stars like Ashvini. The sun, the moon, and the other stars and planets were very peaceful. All directions appeared extremely pleasing, and the beautiful stars twinkled in the cloudless sky. Decorated with towns Decorated with towns, villages, mines, and pasturing grounds, the earth seemed all auspicious. The rivers flowed with clear water, and the lakes and vast reservoirs full of lilies and lotuses were extraordinarily beautiful. And the trees and the green plants, full of flowers and leaves, pleasing to the eyes, birds like cuckoos and swarms of bees began chanting with sweet voices for the sake of the demigods. A pure breeze began to blow, pleasing the sense of touch and bearing the aroma of flowers. And when the Brahmanas engaged in ritualistic ceremonies, ignited their fires according to Vedic principles, the fires burnt steadily, undisturbed by the breeze. Thus, when the birthless Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was about to appear, the saints and the Brahmanas, who had always been disturbed by demons like Kamsa and his men, felt peace within the core of their hearts, and kettle drums simultaneously vibrated from the upper planetary system.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question, Maturia. This is what happened when the Lord was to appear. How can we feel that way?
Pardon? How can we feel
How
that
can
way?
how can this, what is this? Okay, first we'll start with, what does this verse tell you about the appearance of the Lord and how we can actually experience this, even in present time?
Well, when the Lord appears, all auspiciousness pervades, and all things that are not common become common, like blooming of flowers at the middle of the night, lilies, and so everything else becomes auspicious. All signs of auspiciousness, peaceful. People become peaceful.
Yeah. How can we get that? How can we get that feeling?
How can we can get it by engaging in devotional service, chanting Hare Krishna, and always depending on Krishna.
By feeling the presence of the Lord. Right?
Yeah, he's always with us.
Yeah, good.
He's always with us. Yeah.
He's always with us. Sometimes he has to shake us up a little bit to let us know that he's always with us. So we'll finally say, okay, I'll do a Draupadi, 2 hands up, you know.
Yeah, even in lower forms, he's with us, right? Bees, birds, insects. He's always with every living entity.
Every living entity. A bee can be a bee for Krishna. How cool is that? He created them. He loves the bee. That is so sweet. You know, we don't have to people will be relieved to know they don't have to not be themselves to be loved by Krishna. They just have to act nice, do the right thing, worship him, you know, offer things, offer your love and devotion. Basically love him. It's very simple. Yet somehow
I was wondering why he chose midnight to appear. Maybe because it's less noticeable at night. Most people are sleeping, so he wouldn't be noticed.
But Premananda's agreeing.
Even Lord Chaitanya appeared at night.
Yeah, must be something very beautiful and divine about that. It's a very silent hour, usually. You know. Any realizations on that?
But it wasn't when they appeared, because everybody was chanting, and at least with Lord Chaitanya.
Well, the demigods came, for goodness sake. I mean, there was a lot of things going on. You just read the description of all the things that were happening that clearly indicated
on the ethereal plane, right? Not that it wasn't audible to the others, to the regular people.
You have to be able to pick up on this. You know, those who are covered by the material nature will not be able to understand the appearance of the Lord. Right? Yeah.
I'm having a little bit different experience in understanding this verse. The entire universe, I believe it said. Thereafter, the auspicious appearance of the Lord, the entire universe was surcharged with all the qualities of goodness, beauty, and peace. So someone may create a little atmosphere for themselves, or maybe a little group of people someplace that are hearing and chanting or having some divine experience. And the atmosphere becomes surcharged. But I think it's noteworthy that the entire universe welcomed the Lord and this is not an ordinary advent of the Lord. This is very unique. Like I know, Swami, you're trying to explain that we can attain transcendence even in this material world, and therefore feel the Lord's presence. But there is also something to be said, as we'll hear in these prayers of Vasudeva, about the Mahatattva being an emanation from the Lord, and then he's manifesting inside it. There's also a unique circumstance. We do know about Udipan. This is encouraging. It's a circumstance, an environment that encourages all living entities to welcome the Lord, and it encourages him to manifest himself.
So just by hearing about this transcendental appearance of the Lord, a self-realized soul could totally absorb himself in these descriptions and actually experience this, what's being said in the Bhagavatam.
Within the sky of their heart.
Within the sky of their heart, yes. That's what I was alluding to. Prabhupada, he had to end classes sometimes because he was so absorbed in reality. We were like not familiar with the absolute, and this is, after all these years, we see that a pure devotee can become totally absorbed in reality by hearing the Bhagavatam. It's not that you enter into it, as my husband said, in the sky of the heart, the Antarakash, the internal sky in the heart. Okay, so let's go on. Chaitamayi, would you like to read next, my darling? Unmute, sweetie.
Sorry. Hare Krishna, everyone. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:3, 6 through 8. The Kinnaras and Gandharvas began to sing auspicious songs. The Siddhas and Charanas offered auspicious prayers, and the Vidyadharas, along with the Apsaras, began to dance in jubilation. The demigods and great saintly persons showered flowers in a joyous mood, and clouds gathered in the sky and very mildly thundered, making sounds like those of the ocean's waves. Then the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, who is situated in the core of everyone's heart, appeared from the heart of Devaki in the dense darkness of night, like the full moon rising on the eastern horizon, because Devaki was of the same category as Sri Krishna. Purport. Krishna and his entourage are of the same spiritual potency. Krishna's father, his mother, his friends, the cowherd boys, and the cows are all expansions of Krishna, as will be explained in the Brahma Vimohan Leela. When Brahma took away Krishna's associates to test the supremacy of Lord Krishna, the Lord expanded himself again in the forms of the many cowherd boys and calves, all of whom, as Brahma saw, were Vishnu Murtis. Devaki is also an expansion of Krishna, and therefore this verse says, Devakyam Devarupinyam Vishnu Sarva Guha Shayaha. Wow. So that it's not just a connection. She's a part of Krishna. She's a direct expansion of him as being part of his Leela. It's very beautiful and very elegant. So
amazing. Devaki is part of Krishna. Go on, tell me more about that one.
Beautiful realization. She was designated as the one from or through whom he would come through. And also, likewise, when we choose to become servants of Krishna consciously and in an ongoing way, we also become part of Krishna, and specifically Lord Chaitanya's branches of his tree.
Good.
We become that. It's so well set up. There's no cause for disconnect. It's all, we become connected to him. It's very, very beautiful.
Very good. I like that word, connected. Very, very, very good. It's so easy to, first of all, we have to feel connected with something in this world. We're always looking for that connection. We identify with the different things. So if we identify with Krishna and the Sankirtan movement, it doesn't matter if we're alone chanting Hare Krishna or we're with others chanting Hare Krishna. Sometimes we're not always in the association of other devotees, but we still can be linked up with the Sankirtan movement if we're chanting, hearing, and associating in that way.
If we can just stay awake, we can realize that at every moment we are representatives of Krishna, whether we're distributing books or Harinam, or say counseling a family member. We are direct agents. Devaki was a direct agent, and oh my gosh, what a privilege.
Well, she was chosen to be his mother. She's his eternal mother, and she's a Shakti. She's also a Shakti, but we'll get to that next. Let's go on reading.
Actually, regarding that, Sama,
yeah,
here's a good quote, which expresses that there are different kinds of energies. This is all coming from a topic called Shakti. What I do? I found this one called Vishnu Tattva, Shakti Tattva, and Jiva Tattva. So it explains that expansions, swamsa, personal expansions and separated expansions. Personal expansions are called Vishnu Tattva. As Baladev, just like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's personal expansion, Nityananda, Advaita, and Srivas Adi, they're separated expansions. Srivas is Jiva Tattva. Although they are associates, but Srivas, Jiva Tattva, Nityananda and Advaita, Vishnu Tattva, Gadadhar, Shakti Tattva. So there's Shakti Tattva is an internal potency, but it's not Vishnu Tattva. So what we're reading in this verse from Prabhupada is that all of them were expansions of Krishna as Shakti Tattvas. They weren't, but actually some of them must have been Vishnu Tattvas because he manifested as Vishnu Murtis. That was the cowherd boys. So it's very subtle, but there are differences. But Vasudeva and Devaki, Nanda and Yasoda, Kasyapa and Aditi are the Lord's eternal parents as Shakti Tattvas.
And Shakti energies, different energies of the Lord.
Right.
This is the different energies. So it's Achinta Beta Beta Tattva. They are Krishna and they're not completely Krishna. So, okay.
That's a great quote. Great quote. Thank you.
Jai Shri, would you like to read? Nice to see you, my darling.
Sure. Yeah, sorry I was late. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:3, 9 through 12. Vasudeva then saw the newborn child who had very wonderful lotus-like eyes and who bore in his 4 hands the 4 weapons, Shankha, Chakra, Gada, and Padma. On his chest was the mark of Srivats, and on his neck the brilliant Kaustubha gem. Dressed in yellow, his body blackish like a dense cloud, his scattered hair fully grown, and his helmet and earrings sparkling, all right. Sparkling uncommonly with the valuable gem Vaidurya. The child, decorated with a brilliant belt, armlets, bangles, and other ornaments, appeared very wonderful. When Vasudeva saw his extraordinary son, his eyes were struck with wonder. In transcendental jubilation, he mentally collected 10,000 cows and distributed them among the Brahmins as a transcendental festival. O Maharaj Parikshit, descendant of King Bharat, Vasudeva could understand that this child was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. Having concluded this without a doubt, he became fearless. Bowing down with folded hands and concentrating his attention, he began to offer prayers to the child who illuminated his birthplace by his natural influence.
Why don't you want to read the next one? And then we can have a discussion. You read the next one.
Sure. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:3-13. Vasudeva said, "My Lord, you are the supreme person beyond material existence, and you are the super soul. Your form can be perceived by transcendental knowledge, by which you can be understood as the supreme personality of Godhead. I now understand your position perfectly." Purport. Within Vasudeva's heart, affection for his son and knowledge of the Supreme Lord's transcendental nature both awakened. In the beginning, Vasudeva thought, "Such a beautiful child has been born, but now Kamsa will come and kill him." But when he understood that this was not an ordinary child, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he became fearless. Regarding his son as the Supreme Lord, wonderful in everything, he began offering prayers appropriate for the Supreme Lord. Completely free from fear of Kamsa's atrocities, he accepted the child simultaneously as an object of affection and as an object of worship by prayers.
Wow. Can you explain that? You are the mother of many and grandmother of many. What is this? Completely free from fear of Kamsa's atrocities, he accepted the child simultaneously as an object of affection and an object of worship.
Can't even imagine. Affection is there always, but an object of worship, that's just amazing. If you the child to see the child like that. Yes, very unique, very advanced.
Oh, he is
very special.
Vasudeva.
Yes, very special.
So, and what a Ras. I think Premananda was referring to this also in the forums. What a relationship with the Supreme Lord, to see him simultaneously as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and as your son.
Yeah. And then about being fearless. We were talking about fearless before. So he's completely fearless now, not worrying that this one's going to be killed by Kamsa, because he knows he's the Supreme Lord. So
thank you. That's good. Thank you. Cheta, you have something to add?
Yeah. There's a quote that Prabhupada was speaking to his mother disciples, and he told them that your child is your deity. So Prabhupada was asking us to have a similar attitude towards our children as we raise them, and not to worry about whether you're going to fulfill all your sadhana requirements, but rather to put all of your energy into raising your child as a Krishna conscious devotee.
Right.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's not that we worship, but we serve in that way.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it's exactly the same, but that's an interesting point. We were told to treat the children as actually, he said this to a friend of mine who many years ago, and treat the child as your deity. Means give all your love to that child, all your love and affection to your child. So then they'll come out very Krishna conscious. They won't be bereft of anything. But we see sometimes that didn't happen because we had so many things to do in the beginning. Establish this movement.
Beautiful.
That's a good point. Thank you.
Before we go on, just want to point out something. That this painting's a little bit misleading. I've never seen one which really describes him. You see a little baby here, but he has two hands. But here he's saying, and in the prayers that come up from Devaki and Vasudeva, it appears that it wasn't a big, tall Vishnu like an adult. It was actually baby Vishnu, because otherwise, why would they be afraid that Kamsa was going to kill him? They had so many babies, but if it was a big, powerful Lord Vishnu arriving there, then there was no no fear that he was going to be killed, but because he appeared as a baby. And it says that he appeared with ornaments and decorations and clothing and hair, and generally babies don't appear like that. So although that's misleading, I think as we go deeper into the text in our meditations and our understanding of the of their Vasudeva and Devaki's dealing with that form, that it was a cute little baby Vishnu.
I can't imagine something cuter with his forearms and decorated with a helmet and hair. Can you imagine seeing baby Vishnu? Oh, it's so beautiful. My goodness. Hare Krishna.
Someone
You're
else said-
muted. I think.
Oh,
first,
Manvantara.
Manvantara, but before you speak, Manvantara, did you have something else to add, Chaita, before we get into another whole?
I was just recalling the incident of Kardama Muni, and he and Devaki had the Lord as their child. What was the difference between their perception? Devahuti, sorry. Devahuti. Yeah. What was the difference between Yeah, sorry. Yeah, what was the difference between their perception and this? Because they also understood that their child was the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
That's it.
A good question. What would you? How would you proffer an answer for that, Chaita?
Perhaps the magnitude of Lord Krishna's appearing here. He's here 100%, but as Lord Kapila Dev, he's a partial incarnation. That's one idea that occurs to me.
Sure, that might be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are different intensities, magnitudes of Vatsalya Rasa, Vatsalya Bhav. And here, just like we'll read in a little while about the difference between Devaki's Vatsalya Bhav and Mother Yasoda's Vatsalya Bhav. So in the pastime of Kardama Muni and Devahuti, we don't really hear about Lord Kapila Dev's childhood pastimes. It's almost as if of course he must have had them, but they're not narrated. They're the expression of their different relationships with him. And then all of a sudden he becomes a teacher to Devahuti kind of quickly in the text. Whereas this part of Srimad Bhagavatam is very much elaborating on these different experiences of the parents, which means that it must have been different, deeper, and more loving exchange. It's a really wonderful meditation to, as we'll hear Vasudev's prayers, to understand this balance between understanding he's dealing with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he knows it, but at the same time, there's love in his heart for this little baby child. That didn't happen. That didn't happen with the demigods. They didn't have that sentiment at all. This is Lord Vishnu. So we're on a different wavelength and a different type of relationship here, and will be as we progress.
Thank you. I like that. It's a combination here of the Aishvarya mood and the Madhurya mood. And he's trying to
Vatsalya. Manvantara, did you want to? Thank you, Chaita. Manvantara, please tell us what you were going to say.
I just thought that perhaps maybe it's probably best if I wait till later, because maybe it sounds like it's going to be further elaborated on. So I'll just postpone my question till when it comes.
Okay, I see. Like, Premananda.
Yes, I want to follow up on what Dhruva Maharaj Prabhu just said, that Vasudeva had love for Krishna, which the demigod did not have. So, Prabhu, would you call that the Sthayi Bhava of Vasudeva? That
Very much so.
That
yes.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay.
Whereas the demigods had a different ras. There was more awe and reverence in their worship of Lord Krishna.
Okay, thank
Very good. Kate is our next reader. Kate, would you like to read? Let's see. Let's see. Kate, we're waiting for you. Maybe she does. Okay. We'll get back because we still have verses. Okay. How about you, Bhakti? Would you like to read?
Yes. I have to unlock. Okay, it's unlocked. Yeah. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:3-14. My Lord, you are the same person who in the beginning created this material world by his personal external energy. After the creation of this world of three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, you appear to have entered it, although in fact you have not. Purport. This material world of three modes of nature, sattva guna, raja guna, and tama guna, is a composition of earth, water, fire, air, mind, intelligence, and false ego, all of which are energies coming from Krishna. Yet Krishna, being always transcendental, is aloof from this material world. Those who are not in pure knowledge, thinking that Krishna is a product of matter and that his body is material like ours, avajananti mamuda. In fact, however, Krishna is always aloof from this material world. Foolish persons think that when Krishna appears as the son of Vasudeva, he is limited like an ordinary child, but Vasudeva was aware that although the Lord had appeared as his son, the Lord had not entered Devaki's womb and then came out. Rather, the Lord was always there. The supreme love is all-pervading, present within and without. Pravista iva bhasyase. He only seemed to have entered the womb of Devaki and to have now appeared as Vasudeva's child. The expression of this knowledge by Vasudeva indicates that Vasudeva knew how the events took place.
Very good. Can you explain how is this happening? Why is it saying that Krishna did not come? He was present. He was not only present in the womb. Where else he was present outside of the womb too. So he wasn't born like an ordinary child. Can you explain that?
Well, Krishna didn't have an ordinary conception. He appeared in the mind of Vasudeva and transferred to the mind and heart of Devaki. He was also existing because he's eternal and also he was always appearing in this world. Hypothetically, we'll say by the womb, but not actually. He was always there, ready to appear. He's appearing.
Yeah, that's true. What part of the Lord does that remind you of? What is that part of the Lord, that name, special name, that this is actually referring to? What aspect of the Lord is inside of the womb, outside of the womb, in everything, all pervasive? What is that? What is the name of that form? You need some help? Who else can say?
Oh.
The Lord in the heart. That's a big hint.
Yeah.
What's the Lord in the heart? Paramatma.
Paramatma. I was ready to say that, and I thought, well, it's too neophyte to say just Paramatma.
Neophyte? I don't think so. I mean, that's pretty advanced.
I thought it was maybe some other name. I thought you meant Paramatma.
Antaryami is another name for Paramatma.
Yes.
That's another name for Paramatma. Good. Okay. Thank you, Bhakti. That's I think the basic thing about that passage, that the Lord is all pervasive. He doesn't have to take birth. He's already there in the womb, out of the womb, all over the place. It's really wonderful. Let's see if Kate would like to read again, or if she's there. Kate? Okay. Mama Tara, would you like to read?
Text 15 through 17. The Mahatattva, the total material energy, is undivided.
Wow.
But because of the material modes of nature, it appears to separate into earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Because of the living energy, Jiva Bhuta, these separated energies combine to make the cosmic manifestation visible. But in fact, before the creation of the cosmos, the total energy is already present. Therefore, the total energy never actually enters the creation. Similarly, although you are perceived by our senses, because of your presence, you cannot be perceived by the senses, nor experienced by the mind or words. Evan Manasha Gochara. With our senses, we can perceive some things, but not everything. For example, we can use our eyes to see, but not to taste. Consequently, you are beyond perception of the senses. Although in touch with the modes of material nature, you are unaffected by them. You are the prime factor in everything, the all-pervading, undivided supersoul. For you, therefore, there is no external or internal. You never entered the womb of Devaki. Rather, you existed there already.
Wow. Okay. You want to read this?
Purport. The total material energy remains intact even after being divided into 16 elements. The material body is nothing but a combination of the 5 gross elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Whenever there is a material body, it appears that such elements are newly created. But actually, the elements are always existing outside the body, outside of the body. Similarly, although you appear as a child in the womb of Devaki, you are also existing outside. You are always in your abode, but still you can simultaneously expand yourself into millions of forms. Quote, one has to understand your appearance with great intelligence because the material energy is also emanating from you. You are the original source of the material energy, just as the sun is the source of the sunshine. The sunshine cannot cover the sun globe, nor can the material energy, being an emanation from you, cover you. You appear to be in the 3 modes of material energy, but actually, the 3 modes of material energy cannot cover you. This is understood by the highly intellectual philosophers. In other words, although you appear to be within the material energy, you are never covered by it.
Oh, boy. Do you want to say something about that? How the Lord is never covered by the material energy, although he appears to be within it.
The purport is attempting to, well, from my understanding, is explaining the simultaneous oneness and difference, and showing how Krishna is everywhere, but it is doing it in small chunks. And so I suppose it's going to get to something bigger, but that was really kind of my question in terms of the Paramatma living in everyone. In the Vaikuntha planets, the Paramatma is not with the unconditioned jiva. I mean, right? I mean that spirit soul is in the spirit body, is in the spiritual body. The Paramatma is not within those spiritual bodies.
Right.
But because Krishna lives right there, right? But in the
Right,
conditioned body, the Paramatma exists. So in understanding Devaki, it sounds like it's a televised telepathy type of visual appearance of Krishna. Like for example, like Krishna wouldn't traverse the birth canal with his helmets and his symbols and conch shells and those kind of things, but you can see that in his baby form. So it makes me think that it's a spiritual televised person, even though he's still there, even though he's there. You know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it.
Well, you're not
But-
the only one who doesn't know how to explain it. That's what we got. It's a very difficult thing to understand, but it's okay. Actually, it does say in the Bhagavad Gita that one who understands the appearance and disappearance of the Lord, and he will go to him. But I wonder, Patti, you can answer this one. I wonder if you can say it's like inconceivable. That's always a good word to use. It's inconceivable how the Lord appears. But then it is conceivable because he's all pervasive. What do you think?
It's described that in the spiritual world, there are no demons, and ordinary people cannot see the Lord. But when he manifests on earth, as Bhoma Lila, even the non-devotees saw him. So it's not some kind of I don't know what she said, televised or telepathic experience. He actually manifested himself, which he can do at any place at any time. But we're reading now about his actual advent and his staying on earth and performing pastimes. That's why it's called Bhoma Lila. Bhoma means earth. Lila, it's earthly pastimes. The Supreme Personality of Godhead himself manifests on earth for 125 years in the 28th millennium of the Vaivasvata Manu and performs his Lila on earth. And people can see him, whether they're devotees or non-devotees, and experience. He was a historical person who was actually here.
Okay, so we're talking, I think Mandantura also is, questioning the actual appearance that he did not come through the birth canal. He actually manifested himself.
Right.
He manifested himself. And the way we understand, according to the Bhagavatam, is this nature of the Lord. He's all pervasive. He can be in the womb. He can be outside of the womb. And he just appeared. He made himself manifest. He presented himself.
Yes, and that's what this verse is expressing, that he's within it, but he's also outside of it. We're not outside our body. We're localized within it.
Right. Very limited.
So that's one of the differences between the Lord and the living entity. Although he's manifested in his body and everybody can see him, simultaneously he's in every atom and he's performing his pastimes throughout the different universes and in the Vaikuntha Lokas and in Goloka Vrindavan.
He can be anywhere at once.
All simultaneously.
Right. He can be anywhere at once, just like the sun is the example that's given. I see the sun over my head. You might be in a different place. You see the sun over your head. But, that's the nature of the pure devotee also. When we had this Tirobhav celebration for Prabhupada, he was like that. He was like that. He made everyone feel that we all had a relationship with him. He was like that. That's what a pure devotee, he sees with equal vision. And what to speak of Krishna, we can all have a relationship with Krishna. And what are we starving for? We're starving for that eternal divine relationship.
Tisha has her hand up.
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu. I was just thinking that we know Devaki appeared pregnant. Her stomach grew, she had the appearance of carrying a child, and everyone knew the Supreme Personality of Godhead was growing inside of her, and the room was effulgent and everything. So then do you think she had the experience, of giving birth, and then Krishna was there?
It's not like Mother Yasoda. That's what Mother Yasoda had. She had the experience of giving birth. I don't know, Patti. Did Krishna?
What did Mother Yasoda have? Mother gave. Oh, because
Mother Yasoda had the
tired.
birth experience, and she fell asleep from it. But Devaki, this particular birth or appearance of the Lord, that's a good question.
From these texts, it appears that he just manifested.
Even though he was manifesting in her womb.
But
also.
Otherwise, why would Vasudeva have expressed like he did? He's saying that you weren't manifest by any in Devaki's wombs, you were already there, and then you manifested. Same thing
But
outside.
you were there, right? Yeah. Can you imagine a sonogram of that? Seeing baby Vishnu. Oh God, cutest thing ever. Okay, let's go on. Where the next verse? Tisha, you want to read?
Yes, thank you. Okay, verse 18. One who considers his visible body, which is a product of the three modes of nature, to be independent of the soul, is unaware of the basis of existence, and therefore he is a rascal. Those who are learned have rejected this conclusion because one can understand through full discussion that with no basis in soul, the visible body and senses would be insubstantial. Nonetheless, although his conclusion has been rejected, a foolish person considers it a reality. Right. Those who are learned have rejected this conclusion because one can understand through full discussion that with no basis in soul, the visible body and senses would be insubstantial.
What do you know what that means? What does that mean?
It means that we're not matter. There's a soul associated with inside of a material body, separate from the material body.
And if there's no soul there?
There's no light. There's no being. There's no existence.
There would be. It would be insubstantial. It's not a living thing anymore.
In other words, the soul keeps the body alive and moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nonetheless, although his conclusion has been rejected, a foolish person considers it a reality. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The body has a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just as the soul does. Since both of them are energies of the Lord, neither of them is false, because they come from the reality. One who does not know this secret of life is described as a Buddha. According to the Vedic injunctions, everything is the Supreme Brahman. Therefore, both the body and the soul are Brahman, since matter and spirit emanate from Brahman. Not knowing the conclusions of the Vedas, some people accept the material nature as substance, and others accept the spiritual soul as substance. But actually, Brahman is the substance. Brahman is the cause of all causes. The ingredients and the immediate cause of this manifested material world are Brahman, and we cannot make the ingredients of this world independent of Brahman.
Okay, that's what do you think about that, Tisha? Well, we were discussing this before, actually, how this is not false, it's temporary. It's a part of the Lord's energy, this material world. So what else do you have to say about this? I like the part about Prabhupada's definition of a rascal. Read that again. Pati, could you put that on? That's very cool. Read the first sentence until that.
One who considers his visible body, which is a product of the three modes of nature, to be independent of the soul, is unaware of the basis of existence, and therefore he is a rascal.
We don't want to be rascals.
No.
No, we don't want to be rascals, and we want to know that there is a difference between the body and the soul. Right? This is that. What do you think? Do you see how this is all related, Tisha? It's all related. You know, this we are not this body phrase is very, very big. Right? Anyone else have something to say about this? You have two more slides. Pati?
One may think that because everything emanates from Brahman, and Brahman doesn't have differentiation, since everything is absolute Brahman, that the body and the soul are the same. One could conceive of that they're both Brahman. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that's what I was looking up here, if I can manipulate my texts, that earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, altogether, these 8 constitute my separated material energies. Besides these, O mighty armed Arjuna, there's another superior energy of mine, which comprises the living entities, who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. All created beings have as their source in these 2 natures. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual in this world, know for certain that I am both the origin and dissolution. So this is the point that Vasudeva is making, that he is the source, but now he's going more deeply, just as he was instructing Kamsa and explaining that there's a difference between the body and the soul, although they're both emanate from Brahman.
Wonderful. Thank you.
To ask a question, not like we say Krishna is the Supreme Brahman is Brahman, but we say also Param Brahman. What is the same thing, right? Param Brahman?
Yeah,
Brahman?
Param means supreme. Para means supreme. Param Brahman. We're all Brahman. Param Brahman, that's Krishna. Para means supreme.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Okay, let's go on with Premananda reading.
Srimad Bhagavatam 10:3:19-22. O my Lord, learned Vedic scholars conclude that the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the entire cosmic manifestation are performed by you, who are free from endeavor, unaffected by the modes of material nature, and changeless in your spiritual situation. There are no contradictions in you, who are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Para Brahman. Because the 3 modes of material nature, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, are under your control, everything takes place automatically. My Lord, your form is transcendental to the 3 material modes. Yet, for the maintenance of the 3 worlds, you assume the white color of Vishnu in goodness. For creation, which is surrounded by the quality of passion, you appear reddish. And at the end, when there is a need for annihilation, which is surrounded by ignorance, you appear blackish. O my Lord, proprietor of all creation, you have now appeared in my house, desiring to protect this world. I am sure that you will kill all the armies that are moving all over the world under the leadership of politicians who are dressed as Kshatriya rulers, but who are factually demons. They must be killed by you for the protection of the innocent public. O my Lord, Lord of the demigods, after hearing the prophecy that you take birth in our home and kill him, this uncivilized Kamsa killed so many of your elder brothers. As soon as he hears from his lieutenants that you have appeared, he will immediately come with weapons to kill you. Is there a purport to read, or that's it?
Yeah, well, I'm going to have Ian read that purport, and then we can have a discussion. This is the last text, the last slide. Ian?
Okay, purport. An uncivilized man can do anything for the satisfaction of his senses. He can kill children, he can kill cows, he can kill brahmanas, he can kill old men. He has no mercy for anyone. According to the Vedic civilization, cows, women, children, old men, and brahmanas should be excused if they are at fault. But Asuras, uncivilized men, do not care about that. At the present moment, the killing of cows and killing of children is going on unrestrictedly. And therefore, this civilization is not at all human, and those who are conducting this condemned civilization are uncivilized Asuras. Such uncivilized men are not in favor of the Krishna consciousness movement. As public officers, they declare without hesitation that the chanting of the Hare Krishna movement is a nuisance. According to this verse, it is the duty of the Mahatmas to chant the Hare Krishna mantra and try to spread it all over the world to the best of their ability. Unfortunately, society is in such an uncivilized state that there are so-called Mahatmas who are prepared to kill cows and children and stop the Hare Krishna movement. Although Krishna cannot be killed, Vasudeva, as the father of Krishna, was trembling because in affection he thought that Kamsa would immediately come and kill his son. Similarly, although the Krishna consciousness movement and Krishna are not different and no Asuras can check it, we are afraid that at any moment the Asuras can stop this movement in any part of the world. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Premananda, you will comment first, and then Ian. I want to hear what you have to say about these.
Well, I don't know what to say. It's so philosophically deep that
It is very
Vasudeva is moving from, all I can say is that he's moving from Tattva, which is very philosophical about Krishna's appearance, and then he's moving to his Vatsala Bhav, where he's saying that, okay, now you have appeared, you will kill Kamsa, and there is nothing to worry. So, I mean, that's all I can think of. It's such a sweet from this kind of wavering between awe and reverence, and to his Sthai Bhav of Vatsala mood. That's what I can think of.
good. Ian, do you want to tell us? Thank you, Premananda.
Yes, I saw that too, in the sense of moving from the honor reverence and being seeing the Supreme Lord and then seeing the Lord as his son. Also, I'm always fascinated with the quality of the prayers that are offered to the Lord when appears before his devotees. That's. Did you get that?
What was that?
I'm always fascinated with the content, the quality of the prayers that are offered by devotees when they're in the presence of the Lord.
Yeah, that's beautiful. We have to study the prayers of the pure devotees, the demigods, to learn how to glorify Krishna.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
And just to add to that, I really like Srila Prabhupada's purport, how his purport is so hope-giving. He's saying that, okay, even in this world, there are so many rogues and demons in the form of politicians, but the Hare Krishna movement is the form of Krishna, incarnation of Krishna in the form of his holy name. So there is hope. I mean, as long as we chant the holy name and spread the holy name, we have nothing to fear. Just as Vasudeva is assuring Krishna that there's nothing to fear from Kamsa. So I find that parallel very, very beautiful.
Yeah. But Krishna Prabhupada is also saying that he's worried that any moment the Asuras can strike. So he's the father of this movement. He is the father he's our father.
Right.
Of ISKCON, of this spreading of the Hare Krishna mantra all over the world. He is definitely our father. And actually, we should know that. We should, for every single person who takes shelter of Prabhupada, we should know that he is this trustworthy father for all of us. And he's gearing us. Sorry?
Ever well-wishing friend. That's what Srila Prabhupada writes.
Yeah, your ever well-wisher.
Yeah, ever well-wisher.
And this past on Thursday, when we had Prabhupada's disappearance, there was so much love. Just felt so much love. Tisha was in the temple room too at that time. It's just, and Jaishi, all the devotees were just so, it was so loving, and because we had something very, very similar. That was our father. We all loved Prabhupada. No matter how bitter someone is, they love Prabhupada. Cheka.
I just wanted to thank you for reading that beautiful poem, Sama, on Thursday.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
It's beautiful.
Small offering to Prabhupada.
Jai. It's
Hare
excellent.
Krishna. Thank you. Ian, you want to say something?
Yes, just express my appreciation. I tuned in from Jamaica, so I heard all the wonderful presentation. So yeah, I'm very appreciative of the services done by yourself and the other devotees. So that's my little bit. I say I would say today. I'm happy I remember to say that. And I really appreciate the sentiments observe. Yeah.
Good. Just
Hare
see.
Krishna.
We are. That's beautiful. We're very close. Very close. Okay, that was wonderful.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Anyone? Okay,
Hare Krishna.
anyone have something to say? Last until next week. We're already.
I'll see you in Alatra soon. Hari Bol.
Oh, that's good. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Accept my obeisances. Glory to
Vancha
Prabhupada.
Kalpatarushya, Kripa Sindhuvya,
Vancha
Chaitanya
Kalpatarushya,
Hare Krishna.
Well, good week, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Goodbye.